When the people are the object on which government is exercised, there might seem to be a paradox in saying that the same people was the agent in that government. Government is needed only where, if left to themselves, a part of the people would make life and property insecure for the rest. In a small, homogeneous, and highly civilized group, such as once were the travelers in a first-class carriage, a policeman was not required. The individuals could be relied upon to respect and, if necessary, to assist one another. And the same thing happens in spots among exiles and refugees when the destitute practice charity among themselves. Ordinarily, however, it becomes necessary to entrust charity as well as repression to a special body of professionals, probably under a chief appointed to keep those agents themselves in order. Thus, government was never long exercised by all or sundry members of society, but by a single specially instituted government. Unless this governing body is foreign, the people may nevertheless be said to govern themselves in the sense that the members of their government form a part of that people and govern in its name and with its acquiescence. A successful popular rebellion would either destroy that government altogether or secede and form an independent people. Nor are the operations of a government separable from the people on which they are performed. They are necessarily a part of its life and history. They had causes and leave incalculable effects in its institutions and habits, but the cause of these effects can never flow from every member of that community equally. The measure most unanimously approved at one date will have different roots in different minds and will assume different meanings at later times. And public objects approved in debate may bring, when attained, no comfort to any heart. Government is an organ superposed politically upon a society, each member of which is a complete organism in itself. And even when the political machine unites the living machines into one efficient engine, the moral function of the whole is altogether a different order from the moral function of each constituent. Benefits and scourges of many kinds may come to individuals from government, but they are properly not parts of its own aims. They are like the wounds and the promotions incidental to any officer in war. They may partly exasperate and partly reconcile him. They were no part of the government's objective. When occasional enthusiasm at public achievements warms the cheering crowd, it is for no ulterior benefit expected by each of those individuals. It is by a self-transcending flight of imagination, as if the spirit in each had become, for a moment, the mythical spirit of his whole nation in all its wars, and he saw the glory of it like one of the constellations in the firmament. This is, indeed, when it occurs, a truly human satisfaction, but it belongs to pure intelligence and abstracts altogether from economic attachments to one nation or epoch rather than to another. It therefore cancels all properly political interests to which the man who has fallen or risen into that trance must revert in his accidental life and duties. This essential contrast, yet possible concomitance, of earthly life with spiritual peace is beautifully expounded in the Bhagavad Gita, and in various forms it has been recognized by all free sages of whatever epoch or nation. Emotional participation in the fortunes of a government is disinterested, like emotional participation in any drama, real or imaginary. It involves a certain moral identification with the will of the victorious or tragic heroes concerned. Spiritually, the public makes itself a moral accomplice in these perilous deeds, but the most frenzied enthusiasm of that public cannot render it, in any measure, the agent in that action. People may be carried by a storm, they may identify themselves momentarily with their rulers, but it is not they that are governing. A sympathetic fusion of another kind occurs in practical politics between the governed and the government. Except where the rulers are foreigners, they are members of the society which they control. If they are virtuous, they obey the decrees which they issue. In this measure, they actually govern themselves. Now this double movement of the will, by which they at once frame and carry out a plan, may be repeated sympathetically by various classes of their fellow countrymen. Their very professional thoughts and interests as a government will be understood and shared, at least by members of their party. For the exercise of government is not only a passion for a statesman, but a matter of moral concern to the intelligent citizen, and the moving drama for the patriotic historian. Thus, no matter how autocratic a government may be, the whole nation over which it presides lives its life and its vicissitudes with a more or less lively interest. As an excited spectator, as a moralizing chorus, or as a conscious victim, the individual finds in the conduct of the government a daily portion of his joys and sorrows. If he belongs to the party in power in a democracy, he may fancy that by his vote he actually contributed to carry out its policy. Yet this diffusion of political responsibility is not less felt by ardent natures where it does not exist on paper. Political keenness and eloquence become even more passionate when people feel that they are being governed by others gloriously or disastrously. In a Greek tragedy, it is pure politics, or the momentous governing of human life, that is exhibited in its first commitments and ultimate fruits. And there, the chorus, which represents the people, is neither the agent nor the object in the action, but only the spectator and moral judge of its course. Yet the whole soul of that chorus is suspended on those tragic events which lift it to the greatest heights of poetry and philosophy. In the same way, a nation that feels the life of its government invading and animating it may even outdo its government in precipitating the action which both are meditating together, driving then rather than driven. The people may be prophetically ruling their rulers and themselves. Such moments, however, are few and brief, and the natural dichotomy between the government and the governed returns with its moral friction and mutual discontent.